Disclaimer: the views expressed on this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek are solely the opinions of the host and the guest. The content of the conversation is not reflective of the institutions or establishments mentioned therein. Take all these opinions with a pinch of salt and a dash of lime if needed. Namaskara, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening, and welcome to this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. My guest this week is Victor Wu. Victor and I, like most of my guests, as you've probably noticed so far, met through the University of Central Oklahoma and have now known each other for a couple of years. In the time that I've known Victor, he's quite the fun loving person, quite the energetic person. He brings this sort of energy to the group that not a lot of people have the ability to. And he's just a fun guy to be around. So, in this episode, we spoke about that nature of him and what sort of motivates that. But there's also a serious side to him in terms of getting work done and so on and so forth. So, we spoke about a lot of that on this episode. And I think that there's a lot that you will get from this episode in terms of reflection or just relating to one another. So, without further ado, I present to you Victor Wu on this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. Hey, Victor, how's it going?
Hi, Prateek. Yeah, the life's been going great as a new year. How are yours?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Thank you once again for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And before we get started, let the people know who you are.
Yeah.
Who is Victor Wu?
Yes. Thank. Yeah. So thank you for having me. So for those who don't know me yet and who already knew me, so my name is Chumvita Vu. I'm originally from Hanoi, Vietnam. I'm a junior majoring marketing with a minor interpersonal communication. So my life has been occupied with communication cycle, communication researches, and yeah, I'm really enjoying my junior life right now and spending the rest of my college year at UCO. And yeah, live to the fullest right now.
Good, 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 good. I'm happy that you're living to your fullest. What are some of your likes and dislikes?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What is my like and dislike? Definitely, my most like is I love being around with people because there are opportunities for me to communicate and interact with real life individuals.
Mm,
And definitely the opposite of my life is definitely like being alone and being left out. I feel like, I'm not able to blend in, I'm not able to mingle in, like not being like socially interactive.
mm. And what are some of your future aspirations? If you don't have any, that's totally fine. But just curious.
Aspiration. I do have many aspiration. I do take like aspirations from my friends personally
Mm,
because I have been around with lots of eloquent people and they are super outgoing, advocative, and then they just being around and involved with community, and that's really inspired me, like being an individual and a part of a group that have such an impactful like effect on user community. Like I sometimes push myself to the limit and motivate myself like to be someone that other people can see like, oh, it's Victor Vu. Like,
mm.
he's here to entertain. He's here to show some like kindness, but true like extraness and drama. Like my personality. Like if someone have interacted with me, they will see. They would understand.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Very true, very true. Just to
Yeah.
start off, you said something earlier about your likes
Thank you.
being, yeah, of course, yeah, you're welcome. You like being around people, but we've lived through a pandemic for a little over a year now. So how did that affect you in terms of being around
Mm.
people? Was it hard? Um, and how did you sort of combat it? Because you mentioned like after that itself that you don't like being alone and that's one of your dislikes. So how did you deal with the whole situation?
It's horrendous.
Mm,
It's extremely horrifying for me because, being a person who have been used to going out with people, like the pandemic, like literally has been isolated me into like 4 walls, stuff like that.
mm,
But definitely there's a bad side of it. Like, I cannot interact with my friends anymore. And I start being pulling out my introvert side. That's definitely a good side that I have been learning throughout the pandemic. Like
mm,
sometimes being such an extrovert person that I forgot to care for myself. Like, I
mm,
just like follow with the people guidelines, with like the people flow, stuff like that. Like I just forgot to care about myself. Like with thanks to pandemic, like I do feel alone. Like, I don't have anybody to communicate with anymore. But however, sometimes like I spend those time, like those free and recessive time to care for my parents, like in Vietnam, to
mm,
care for my relatives and care for myself. Like it's pretty like a detox, like with
mm,
a long-term detox,
mm,
and I start learning like, start to have like a social media cleansing, like not really heavily like influenced by your social media. I learned from that. That is a precious life lesson that I have learned from dynamic. So even though for most of people it have been really like ups and down experience, but for me, I got a lot of optimistic points of view,
mm,
from the pandemic. So yeah, so yeah, I pretty like enjoying it. But yeah,
mm.
but I have been hearing a lot of like, good news about the pandemic has been settling down, and the case have been declining. So yeah, I cannot wait to socialize again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. I have an interesting question.
Yep.
Uh, um, I don't know if this will necessarily apply, but if you were to sort of see a future image of Victor, how would Victor Wu today socialize with people differently than he would before the pandemic? Would there be a difference?
I would say there's gonna be a different. There's
Mm,
definitely gonna be different. So back then, I would see me like a years ago, the pre-COVID period. I would see like I'm just like communicate with people like generally without concerning like people's feeling. Like I just
mm,
think that sometimes my extraness and my dramatic attitude can make them feel overwhelming and kind of like overreact with everything. Does bring like discomfort to people. I
mm,
can I can see that with through some people, like definitely like stranger first time like ever that I met them, like they would feel like, oh, this guy we just met for the first time, we already react like that we have known for each other for a long times. That would I behave in front of people because I want to bring that charisma, to bring that attraction and that cares
mm,
to the people I've been interacting with. But definitely after a year, I will see that I have been aware with my words, my
mm,
attitude, and definitely my behavior, like how to keep in manner and how to keep in that war, like that, that comfort zone to me and to other people. So yeah, I learned quite a lot because yeah, extrovert side guys, definitely take some time to look past. And if you are very outgoing and you have been like going out for a long time, that you forget to spend a little time for yourself, like yeah, take a day and look back. It's definitely gonna help you a lot. Like very good medicine.
mm. So definitely, like what I'm getting is this pandemic or the time that you've gotten off has helped you recharge a lot, which will then help you sort
Gotcha,
of.
like more mature.
Mm.
Yeah, like Asian code, more mature.
No, I meant more in recharge in the sense because okay, maybe before I say that, do you think that being an extrovert can feel tiring sometimes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Like the audio is kind of like muffling
Oh,
before.
no, yeah, no
Can you
worries.
repeat the question?
Yes, of course, I can. Do you feel tired of being an extrovert
Oh,
sometimes?
oh, am I tired to be an extrovert sometime? Um, I think I don't. It's just like I do have friends. I every time I hung out with my friends, they say, Victor, do you have energy? Like, do you
Mm,
still have energy left to continue like going out, hang out with us, stuff like that. Like they only had that type of question. Like, do you still have energy? Like, where do you store your energy? Like, I don't know. It just come up from myself, like with me. Like every time I'm just thinking about like interacting or like, socializing with people, like I have that inner motivation or inner energy just push me forward. I don't know why. But yeah, like it's gonna be tired for some people sometime. Like imagine like you at a music festival, you've been jumping a lot of time, that you've been screaming, you've been scolding a lot. It's definitely be tired. Like, but it's not really precisely like resemble of being an extrovert. But yeah, for me personally, I didn't feel tired being
Hmm.
that type of person.
Interesting. Because for me personally,
I know it's very interesting.
yeah, yeah, that is very interesting because I've heard a lot of people say, and maybe this is mostly introverts who are also slightly extroverted. We feel like we need to sort of switch off, like we don't want to do anything for a day. You just want to stay at home, sort of turn everything off and be by yourself.
True.
So, which
True.
is why I was sort of interested to know how you sort of approach that because I feel like for me at least, sometimes I'm okay with being around people, but I need at least a day in the week for myself where I don't do or I'm not around people
True.
and I'm just doing my own thing. So, which is why I was just curious to know how you sort of
Yeah,
deal with that.
I can see that, like, but sometimes you think like you are fully introverted, but sometimes if you're introverted, like the fact that you pushing yourself to do some daily task is
Mm,
not really introverted for me
mm,
because for me as an extrovert person, sometimes feel very lazy to do like chores, to do daily tasks, and to clean
mm,
my house, or just like doing the laundry weekly. But like
mm,
for an introvert person, those people taught me to be like, like just going outside, hang out with people and eating. Like, look at your room, it's so messy, stuff like that. Like, you don't really have time to take care about your own private, yeah, stuff like that. I say,
mm,
yeah, I know. That's why I'm learning, I'm improving, and you know, introvert and extrovert take can be intertwined. So
mm,
there's no like like clearly explanation to distinguish between that like terminology.
mm,
So yeah, that's like sometimes being deep down to understand like the definition of it.
mm. Yeah. So basically, like what you're saying is it's very much a spectrum.
Yeah,
It's not like you're either an introvert or an extrovert. You can be both, depending on
spectrum.
where you are.
That's right. That's right. Definitely you are.
Mm. Interesting, interesting. You mentioned something earlier about going through a social
I
media
know. I know.
cleanse.
I really like. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. So back to the day I have like my feed was full of like sad news about like these people that have been deceived, these people have been suffering with like the serious like consequences of
Mm,
exposing to cold stuff like that, like full of like sad news. And then from my side, like from my own family side, uh my really close friends, like close friend with my mother, and I treated her as my second mom. She
mm,
passed away as a because of COVID. That's right. Like I
mm,
took probably like a month away from social media because I don't want my life to be like affected like significantly by that news. So I didn't tell anybody. I just like suddenly took off a day off
mm,
from social media. And then it's definitely quite a good experiences. Like I have more times with my relatives because during back those days I was in Dallas and in Boston with my relatives, and I has more time to like in personally interact with them rather
mm,
than just like we just like 2 miles away, but like we just keep like instead of using our also like phone to interact, we just like in personally interact with each other. And then I feel like like your life is more refreshing, you less burdenly thinking about like how social media can save your life. I know
mm,
it can be a disadvantage of being away from social media because we're living in the world of technology, and sometimes like employers can use your social media for their decision making. Like they're gonna do additional screening But like there's definitely disadvantages. But like if you think about yourself more, like what I said during the pandemic, the social media cleansing definitely like make me a different person. I would say like that's why I don't want to be like dramatically influenced by social media. So yeah,
Mm.
it's a very quiet experience, and I learned a lot from that. And yeah, but to be exact, like if I didn't use social media, but I
Mm.
do still use like iMessages to receive like messages from my friends. It's still though like even though I don't want to keep up with the chance with the news up to social media, I still want to know how my friends was doing, how my friends are feeling. So yeah, being a little bit self-aware with your surroundings, people.
Mm. Mm. That's fascinating.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You use I mean, you have a Facebook account and you have an Instagram account. So, and maybe others too. Which one do you feel like after taking that cleanse? Which one do you feel drained you the most? Was it Instagram? Was it Facebook? Or was it both equally?
I would say Instagram.
Mm.
Um, like so back then in Vietnam, we don't usually use Instagram nor Snapchat. Like I don't even know Snapchat existed when I came to America. Not until I came to America.
Mm.
We only use Facebook as our main like social media platform.
Yeah.
But like for the Instagram, I just say it's most impactfully like affects me because like we in a country that praise the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, then political belief, stuff like that. So they can post a lot of stuff through
Mm.
feed, through reels, to daily posters. And I exposed to that every day because I was like addicted social media user back then. And
Mm.
I saw a lot of people posting that. And seeing story, especially during Black Lives Matter, like boycott, like and then what was happening with the cases is just like I just think like the life have just like you know decline in a really negative way, and I don't
Mm.
being extrovert person, I don't want to see the world in that way.
Mm.
That's why like I took away as a social media. I took off as a social media user, start from the Instagram first, and then I moved to the Facebook. So yeah, definitely that is the most impactful social media site that I could that I has experience from.
Mm.
But Facebook sometimes did do something within your daily life because like I knew that things about my second mother thing from Facebook though because
Mm.
like most of Vietnamese people are using it. And then
Mm.
if I try to use Facebook because I want to keep up with my parents back in Vietnam. But like when those fake news came up, it's just like I didn't have it hope for both Instagram and Facebook anymore, so I decided to take off from both of the sites. So
Mm.
yeah, but yeah, life is getting better now. I
Okay.
being a different person, I think differently, and yeah, definitely cleanse in your life, and then refreshment, like taking like a meditation, like
Mm.
what I trying to do every morning.
Mm.
I learn
That's
from the
good.
best. I
That's
learn from
good.
the best.
That's good. That's good.
Gotcha.
That's good. Um, so
Thank you.
would you say that you felt that way about Instagram mainly because Instagram is the most used app, like in comparison to Facebook? Like a lot of your friends are on there, a lot of people around you are there. Is that why you feel that way, that Instagram was more impactful than Facebook?
Yes, because here's the fact that seen a lot of Vietnamese people was using Facebook and what they post on the social media, like especially on Facebook
Mm.
daily, the government can know. The social
Mm.
media users can report back to that specific government. And back to Vietnamese government, we don't praise the freedom of speech. So
Mm.
it's something that's kind of exists the limitation that the government gave you, in terms of like speech, stuff like that, you can have a harmful consequences.
Mm.
So, but in opposites to Facebook, there's a like Instagram where you can see like a lot of freedom of speech, related post on there. And yeah, being like exist to that field and spectrum, like it can definitely impact me a lot.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, it's interesting, especially because you are interpersonal communication minor too. That you're working towards a minor in a communications-based study. So for you, coming
Yeah.
from a country that has or that doesn't have freedom of speech, how does that dynamic work? Do you think that that had a role to play in you wanting to learn more about interpersonal communications, or like, is there a connection there in some way? Do you think?
There's I think there's word connection. Because like I'm growing up with the like when we like the democracy that they saying that your voice only wait not until you are compatible with what the government gave you the permission to. So I
Mm,
would say that something like you can see a lot of news toward like the Vietnamese regulation, the Vietnamese government. For me, I don't hold any judgments towards that or
mm,
against that. But like for all the people, they say that they have been like restrictly constrained with just like like perspective of life.
mm,
But for me, as a person that came from the interpersonal related field, I want people to freely like to advocate for their voice, advocate for
mm,
their rights, even though it's right or wrong.
mm,
But like even though I'm from the north, which
mm,
people think that's very like narrow-minded like region of Vietnam,
mm,
because of the political belief we are holding to.
mm,
But yeah, I would say like interpersonal communicator, as me myself, like I want to people just like speak on behalf of you on your right, stuff
mm,
like that. So and then one of the small connection why I chose pursue like interpersonal communication background is just because like I love interacting with people, stuff like that, and I amazed how like such a small word has
mm,
so much weight on decision making on and on how it can affect your daily life. Like just a small kind word can 360 like degree half of your day inspire of your day. That's why I really amazed. And when I came to America, I really amazed about how diverse and inclusive USA were, like because scene is a melting pot, and diversity definitely want me to delve into you know how communication can alter and differ from culture to culture. So yeah, from the community like interpersonal communicator points of view, I want to have like the most ethnical and morally
mm,
conversative like interaction with my friends. So yeah, there's a lot of connections over there. But see, I don't want to really like get involved with that still political points of view. So I just want to give a little bit, you know, my opinions
I
toward
understand.
how sometimes you like Vietnamese government like can
Mm,
biasly like treat people like
mm,
its own citizens. But yeah,
mm,
a lot of
mm,
things kept happen.
No, I understand. I understand. Again, if you're not comfortable
Yeah,
saying something, that's totally fine. And
gotcha.
I get that. That's totally fine. Um, well, I was gonna ask, in your time of studying interpersonal communications, if someone was to ask you the three top things that you learned, what would those three things
Mm.
be?
Oh, three top things, huh? Oh yeah, I never thought of this. Um, Properly like cultural differences, um, personality,
Mm,
and like how personality can affect your way to communicate with people, and last
mm,
but not least like moral conversation in this like like we hold different types of personality, and
mm,
sometimes your personality can harm anybody like intangibly or accidentally just by
mm,
a words, and sometimes being sometimes people, especially from like Asian parents, like where I came from, they think that interpersonal communication is not really an impactful measure you should pursue to. instead that you should like pursue like law degree, like doctor degree, like stuff like that, like
Mm,
beyond what I'm studying. But like I would
mm,
say like just a small thing can change or can like bring a big changes in your daily life. And
mm,
communication is a perfect platform to start it to. And yeah, that would be the three things I would think of. Yeah, I've been communicating with lots of professors, and they say that they have been traveling a lot.
mm,
And the reason of traveling is why brought them to communication major. It's just that it's
mm,
really amazed of uh, homogeneous and heterogeneous country can communicate differently. And we as a melting pot, we're super open-minded with like
mm.
our own voices, but like compared to other Asian country or maybe in Vietnam, we're very conservative and we think carefully before we speak.
Right.
Here, like you can speak whatever you want, like as long as it's like it's had to be within that terminology of like being acceptable. But
Mm,
yeah, anything can happen, and I just really fascinated of communication. And I really want, like, even though I stopped my 4 year here at UCO, I want to continue like improving and broaden my horizons regarding like communications, because studying is endless, and start and communication is related to every point of your life, to every
mm.
aspect of your life. I would say that.
Yeah, that's very true because when you go to the grocery store, when you go to like, let's say a Walmart or a Target, you have to talk to
Yeah,
somebody. When you go to meet your doctor, you have to talk to them.
you have
So
to
like
talk to
it's
them.
very, yeah, because we are social creatures. Communication is very much ingrained in our system.
True.
So you said something interesting wherein even after your time in UCO, you want to broaden your horizons, or your horizon rather. So I don't know if you can reduce this to 3 or 5 like things that you could do, but if you do have a list of 3 to 5 things, what would those things be that would help you broaden your horizon in terms of communication?
Communication, huh? Definitely the first on my list is definitely traveling.
Mm,
As I want to travel to different types of country, from Middle East to Europe to to like South America to Asian, like beyond Vietnam. It's just
mm,
how diversely and how variously people communicate from regions to regions.
right.
And yeah, and then what else? Make more connections,
Mm,
like from traveling and from workplaces. Like even though you think like you already have that enough of communicative skills by
mm,
interacting with your loved one, with your friends that you're having right now, I would say it will never be enough for the ever-changing world out there. People will
mm,
change their opinions from time to time, millisecond to milliseconds. So like just by communicating with more people, I can have more appropriate and clear like viewpoint of how
mm,
communications is diverse.
mm,
And the third one would be maybe doing researches.
mm,
I was like just by we are we are living in the world of advancements of internet of things right now. So basically we're exposed to technologies every day, and there's a lot of like communicative related posts on the social media. So I want to take advantage of it to read
mm,
more about it. Like like I'm in a junior and about to be senior year already, so I currently in the point that I want to dig deep into like informational and conceptual like perspectives, rather
mm,
than just taking basic classes that related to your major courses. But no, I just sometimes want to challenge myself more. But
mm,
yeah, definitely there will be more options for me to broaden my horizons regarding that perspective. But
mhm.
yeah, for now it will be three of that. But if I have any more of this, I definitely gonna keep you guys updated in the next podcast. Like Victor is like, I think this new. So if any have like communicator out there listening to this podcast, you can apply those things. Or if you have anything to share, or maybe to give me some comment, comment down below. This definitely another YouTube,
Yeah,
Tell
Victor is
me, like,
definitely being a
okay.
YouTuber here. Yes, of course. Like if you guys
Oh,
have any feedback, make sure to mention it in the comments below. How
just and I
either
share
of us.
software too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for doing my job, Victor.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um I have another interesting I mean, I at least find this question interesting. I don't know if you do or not, but
No, it's fine. I have a bunch of free time too.
uh, so you mentioned that you're an international student from Vietnam, and like we've worked together in a council, and you worked with a lot of people from different parts of the world. Yes, mostly Asia, but you also encountered people from Europe and so on and so forth. So in meeting those people, um, if there was any communication skill that you would have to pick out from them, what would that be? Have you thought about that?
Oh no. Oh yeah. Oh, interesting question. One lesson that I learned from them. Let me see. I would say the first and foremost and the most important lessons that I learned from them is being a good listener.
Mm,
Um, I would say that almost of my friends being very tolerant towards my stories, they
mm,
have been patiently waiting for me to finish my story. I
mm,
know sometimes can overwhelm for them and it can be uncomfortable for them because I'm not here to listening to a story. I'm just here to hang out. But my friends being very tolerant towards me.
mm,
But like for me myself, sometimes being an eloquent and adhesive like speaker, I forget about the basic and the basic foundation of being a communicator, which is being a good listener. A lot of
mm,
my friends have been teasing me, have been complaining about my listening skill. It's just like
mm,
sometimes I jump to conclusion and sometimes I intervene them during a conversation a lot of time.
mm,
So because I just say, oh, like just as soon as they highlight something like certain like opinions that attracted me, I'm just like intervene them immediately. That is not a good thing. That's not a good thing, guy.
mm,
Like I was in communication major, but I did that. Oh my god, I
mm,
disowned my professor. I disowned my own background. But I was just kidding. But
mm,
yeah, listening. All the leaders that I have exposed and I have interacted with, they're really good listener and they
mm,
respect each other's opinion. And somehow, being a good listener, you can integrate it and you can combine different types of opinion to come together to find the common ground easier.
mm.
Just instead of being a lonely, speaker, like a lonely communicator, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, listening, yo, yeah, talking about this, I'm just like, wow, like I have been sometimes just like ignore my friends like comment about like my skills that I forget that. I'm just the first thing you have to do to be a good communicator is listening. Yeah,
Mm,
and be to show your compassion and your understanding about the
mm,
conversation. Yeah, definitely. Wow, this
mm.
deep. Oh my god, I'm only 20. I'm only 20. I'm kidding.
I was
I'm
gonna
kidding.
actually make it a little more deeper by asking you
Sure,
this.
sure, sure. Go ahead.
Do you think, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. I think we all can have our troubles in terms of being good listeners, because sometimes we want to put our sort of point of view out there. Do you
Mm,
think that our attention spans have anything to do with that? Because gradually, like, our attention spans have reduced because of social media or whatever. Like, there's many reasons to blame it. But do you think our attention
true.
spans has a role to play in that, in terms of not being attentive in terms of listening?
It can be definitely. But like but it had to like depends on different situation. If the story that
Mm,
you are interacted with is amazed to you and is interesting to
mm,
you, your regardless of your attention span, you don't care about that. You just like keep digging into the conversation because not only when it will benefit you, the
mm,
listener, but it will benefit the communicator because they are freely they trusting you to express their own feelings, stuff like that.
Mm,
And but in the situation, if the story you forcefully to listen to that conversation, definitely you won't be that attentive throughout the rest of the conversation. And it's hard. It's really hard. Being communicator, we have to very adapted with every types of communication. Like especially for me, I'm not really amused with political conversation. Like
mm,
I'm not that politician, and I'm
yeah.
not really interested in that point of view.
Mm,
But we have to know at least about that because we're living in this democracy. We're starting in this democracy, and they really highlight that things, and they're really proud of that. So being a student pursuing U.S. country university, you have to at least know about that.
mm,
But yeah, but the most important thing is how you keep yourself motivated,
mm,
and it's definitely your self-awareness and your like your cognition. It's like
mm,
put yourself in other people's shoe. If they are interacting with you and you're sharing your own story, and you see the other person, they just keep getting less motivated from your story. What do you think? You do feel disrespected, you think
mm,
like my voice didn't like hold any weight for them, and like just like everything I just said is just put in vain. So I don't want to be disrespectful, because some for a communicator, we are based on service related, priority.
yeah.
And for services, we have to, respect the customer. We have to respect their own stories, to bring the best customer service. So
Mhm.
yeah, just have a two side effects. Two side effects. Yeah.
Mm, interesting. Interesting. Because the
Yeah,
reason why I was
definitely.
thinking about that was because, I mean, a lot of the times, and I think we're all probably culprits in this, like be it Instagram or be it TikTok or Facebook or whatever, you're seeing videos that are so short that you tend to lose attention quickly because you're jumping from one video to the next and like you're watching like 5 videos in 10 minutes. So
True.
I was just curious to know if like you had any sort of thoughts on that. But I wanted to transition into something slightly different. Knowing you personally, I've noticed this, and a couple of other people have too. Is that as much as you're a very extroverted and fun-loving person, a part of you is very busy. I don't know if busy is the right word, but when it comes to getting something done in terms of work, you keep up. You're not someone that like can seem like, oh, this guy's just fun loving, he's not going to do his job. You do keep up with your work. So I was just curious to know, or if you're comfortable sharing, where does that come from? Because a lot of the times, and we shouldn't be judging a book by its cover, but a lot of the times when people are sort of fun loving and extroverted like you are, it can sort of seem like they're not the best people in terms of getting work done. And
Mm,
I don't mean that as a negative thing towards you, but I'm just curious to
true,
know
true.
because like knowing you and having worked with you, you keep up with everything that you need to do. And you've done a great job with anything that you had to do. So I'm just curious to know like what motivates that side of Victor Wu.
Wow, really? I didn't know people think about that towards me. Oh, really?
It's
Because
actually, I think Jared and I talked about this once. Was it Jared? I think it was
really,
Jared and I. Yeah, I think it was Jared and I. Yeah.
JJ. Oh my
Yeah.
God, JJ talk. Oh my God. Wow,
Jaredism,
I
yeah.
didn't think that I would hear that thing from advisor and from friends of mine. So
Mm,
yeah, just simply is simply derived from my way of my personal thinking. It's just I, for example, I sign up to participate in ISC. I sign up to participate in GLA. What was
mm,
the reason why I participate in those things? Because first and foremostly, I want to build intercultural, communication between domestic and international students. That's the
mm,
thing. But the deeper reason behind is because I have signed up a commitment.
mm,
You think that commitment is really an intangible reason for you to sign for anything, but it's really hard to break it. It's unbreakable. When
mm,
as soon as you sign up a commitment, it's really hard for you to break that thing and to escape from that. because people, when they look at you, they look at your commitment. And even though sometimes, like based on my outgoing, extrovert personality, people just say that I'm just, interested in, interacting, hanging out, and they don't care about my education. But when it's come to work, not
Hmm.
only within the academic perspective, but also like when you graduated and you have your own real life job,
Hmm.
being a good communicator is a good advantage to make friends to keep up with the work environment. But
Hmm.
beside that, having the moral, the manner, and the commitment, you can bring like the best outcome, the more insightful contribution to the outcome of the things you are working for. And
Hmm.
people has trust me and had assigned me to this specific position, and I don't want to let them down,
Hmm.
because if I let them down now, it will affect the rest of my time at
Hmm.
UCO. They will see, oh, that guy, oh yeah, he's very involved. But in
Hmm.
terms of like finishing like the work that he been assigned to, you have to reconsider that. I don't want to be that person in that situation. I want to be in a person in the situation that in which that, oh, that guy, yeah, that's super like highly involved. And in terms of outcomes, chapters is
Hmm.
compatible with his personality,
Hmm.
So yeah, just a small motivation and small cognition of what you're doing right now is
Hmm.
just bring together. And yeah, I don't want to let people down. They
Yeah.
assigned to this, like they trusted me, they would have selected me, like
Hmm.
I keep the reputation, like
There's responsibility
in a
there.
like the responsibility. When you in that election, people see each other, you see me, I see you, and then I see a potentially responsive like personality from you, so I trust you with this. So yeah, just
Hmm.
a young 20 years old guys giving guy advice, but not really advice, but like my own personal experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally, totally. This is your own,
but
and
thank you.
everything you're sharing is your own experience and your own perspective. So nothing against that. And yeah, good on you for being able to,
Thank you.
stay committed and being responsible, because it can be hard. Like sometimes we can all lose sight. And I'm not saying that people are not
True,
responsible or not committed. We all are in some way, but yeah, sometimes we can lose sight of it. And for those of you who don't know, I mentioned
true.
Jared. Jared Sism is our uh, council advisor at the University of Central Oklahoma. And if I can remember correctly, yeah, it was him and I who were talking about this. But yeah, anyway, transitioning into something slightly more lighthearted. Um, you're someone who is also quite the dancer, quite the entertainer, like you said earlier.
Oh,
So what where did that bug for entertainment come for Victor?
um, it's kind of cheesy if I would say it, but like I would keep myself happy,
Mm,
and I'm not happy not until my friends are happy when they are around
mm,
with me. So being an entertainer, of course, can bring amusement, can bring entertainment, and bring joy to your friends. And
mm,
sometimes I can be silly, sometimes it can be extra. I don't care, as long it makes my friends feel comfortable and feel happy towards their life and feel positive, like and not stressed out anymore after like a hardworking day. It's just bring pleasure to me. And being a dancer, I'm not really a good dancer, but I just love
oh
dancing is
no,
because
no,
I
you're
see
definitely
it
a good
as a
dancer. You're definitely a good dancer.
no.
Don't undercut yourself like that.
Thank you. It's just I just see that as a way to escape the reality and just like put the soul into music. And I cannot, to be honest, I cannot work. I cannot do homework. I cannot, finish my work without music.
Mm,
Some people, they rather would not listen to music while they're focusing on something. But for me, listening to lo-fi music, like background music, can sometimes just like really motivating music can make something better in terms of outcomes. I don't know. Personally, I would feel that. For other people, I don't know. But
Mm,
yeah, like yeah, definitely everything that I have been doing so far is start from my own condition, my own awareness.
mm,
And as you know, my notion is my network is my net worth. And
mm,
if I don't keep that positive attitude around my friend, I will lose my network. And
mm.
business network is super important because
Right.
I don't want to be that business terminology, but it's really good for your profit and your investment. But yeah, like for me, I'm investing in my life, and my friend
Mm,
is the
mm,
investor in my life. So I want to keep
mm,
them the most. I want to give them the most satisfied customer service. And yeah,
mm,
no, being happy won't harm anybody.
That is awesome. Like that perspective of being an investor into your own life by being happy. I mean, that's beautiful because at the end of the day,
Oh, thank
as
you.
long as you're happy and that's what you're investing in, I think that's all you can ask for, right? Um,
True, and it's hard because like being a junior and senior, it's
mm,
really hard for you to be happy with all the
mm,
assignment and the finals coming. Like you had to cope with. You know, I don't blame you for not being happy. Like I about to experience that, so I'm not blaming you. Like
mm,
oh my god, yeah, it's really tough, but yeah,
mm,
happiness, guy, happiness.
mm. How do you cope with it? I mean, you said that you're a junior right now. So in this
Yeah.
recent time, how do you find ways to cope with that sort of heaviness or sort of like that burden of work? How do you cope with it? Like, what are your ways of entertaining yourself?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. It's let me see. Sometime I would say I try to be competitive with myself, like to myself.
Mm,
It's just like, like if you don't feel happy, if you don't keep yourself motivated,
mm,
you will sacrifice and you will throw 4 years at UCL through that window without, without real sorrow or anything.
mm,
Your parents, my parents back in Vietnam, they sacrificed the finance, their work jobs and everything, their time investment, just to be able to allow me to study in the different countries. And
mm,
thinking about my past, my background, and the reason why I'm able to be here in the United States is already enough to motivate me to challenge
mm,
myself, think out of the box. It's just like you are here for the reason. I believe that I
mm,
need you. I'm talking to you right now. Is there a reason behind it? And
mm,
what I'm doing right now, there's a reason, and I only believe in that fate, in that destiny. So I just pushing myself to discover
mm,
more, to exploit my talent, maybe like my inner voice, just listen to
mm,
your inner voice.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a proper answer. That's I don't
mm,
know. But yeah,
mm,
I wouldn't think how have I, motivate myself throughout the entire 3 years because I just simply motivate myself like unconsciously. Like, oh my god, I'm seeing this stressful like homework, but like just think about like future tomorrow, like how satisfies like the result you feel from that. It's just like keep me myself motivated. Yeah,
mm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Uh,
yeah.
for a 20-year-old, you seem to have a good head on your shoulders. So good on you. Good on you for that. That's
Oh
awesome.
my god, no.
That's good on you. Good on you. You said
Gosh,
something else
thank
that
you.
was interesting. Yeah, you're welcome. You said something else that I found really interesting, and I believe that way too, is that everything is happening for a reason. Like you said, that we're talking right now, and that's for a reason. You're doing something, and that is for a reason. So where did that sort of philosophical take come from? Is it something that was inspired or by family or like you just learning or just an experience? So like where did you get that sort of take on um life from or like things from?
Life. Mm. I would say is okay. So this is a very genuine podcast. So what I'm sharing, what I'm about to share, you guys is super genuine. So back to the day, I was still applying for U.S. university, like university in the United States.
Mm.
I was assigned to this studying abroad urgency, and it was a tough time for me because, to be honest, English wasn't my first mother tongue, wasn't my first
Mm.
language, so I having a difficult time to sharpen, to polish my English skills, and in terms of SAT, TOEFL tests, is I have been occupied with the thought that I had to be good at English. I have to have a good result out of everybody that I've
Mm.
been studying with, like to have the best of the best in my class. And that's is the thing that my parents expected me for, expected me to. And
Mm.
it's bring that intangible pressure and burden that you have to conquer it. And I lie a lot. Like my first resort wasn't like didn't meet my expectations, so I lie about my TED resort actually. And
Mm.
when they found out my TED resort, of course they would. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my god, our family has been fall down in that sorrowful like atmosphere, and I don't want to see that kind of moods existing in my house anymore. So I push myself, and then
Mm.
I keep learning, And us twice at the time, the director of the studying abroad agency claimed that he wouldn't believe that I would pass the visa interview because of of my like of English skill back then.
Mm.
And I proved him wrong. I proved him wrong. Like, yeah, I did this. I surpassed this. What I achieved so far
Mm.
is what I want to prove you that what you were saying back then were totally wrong. And
Mm.
I start from that point of view and started that period. I believe that I am destined. I designated to come here to
Mm.
to find a better me, to find that missing pieces of my life. So that kind of like points of view and lifestyle just start pulling out of me
Mm.
unconsciously. Like yeah, like people would think that I learned from my parents, I learned from my upper classmate or maybe my loved ones, but actually I learned from my past. Most
Mm.
importantly, mostly. So yeah, yeah,
Mm.
I would say that. So yeah, like
Gotcha.
definitely your background
Mm.
can define your future a lot of time. A lot of time. I'm not being superstitious something, but yeah, if you like deeply thinking about it, like it can be very interesting.
Mm. Yeah. Hey, I'm all for deep thoughts. That's kind of who I am. I like that. I mean, not to say I don't have fun. To see me
Yeah.
do dumb stuff, you can also follow my page on Instagram, Random Relatability.
No,
The other
you no.
day,
What you're doing is
yeah.
not dumb at all.
Yeah, no, I was making these mouth sounds like I was doing stuff like that on
Oh,
my Instagram page
the
yesterday.
the the wheel sound at the background. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I
Gotcha.
like, we all have that sort of dynamic of fun and serious. And I see that a lot
True.
in you too, from just this, not just this conversation, but from knowing you for the time that I've known you. There is that sort of dynamic of being fun loving, enjoying, but at the same time, there is that seriousness about being committed, being responsible, getting the job done. And that is good. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that people don't have it, people do, but sometimes it takes some time for us to realize that. So,
Mm.
yeah, good on you. Good on you for being able to sort of, uh,
Yeah,
again, keep a good head on your
investor.
shoulders. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank
good on you for being an investor in your own life. That is awesome.
you.
That is definitely a take that I will like remember for a while. Being an investor in your own life. I've read
Oh,
something similar on Twitter, but you saying it, yeah, it just added more. It added a better perspective in terms of the investing that we have to do for ourselves. So that's awesome.
yeah, I'm
Awesome.
glad I bring something that you could remind yourself of.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Thank you.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Um, the funny thing, I mean, this is just something that I was thinking about before we started recording. This episode is probably going to be going out right after the
Mm,
episode that I recorded with Giannina.
mm,
And you two are right now the reigning Mr. and Miss International UCO. So, that I guess that's just some weird sort of serendipity over there, where her episode is coming up before yours. That is, I just find that
Oh,
cool.
really?
Yeah. Her episode is coming up before yours. So I wanted to ask you, I mean, because of everything that's been happening this year, you haven't been able to sort of experience much of it. But what do you think? What do you think you can take away from this experience too? Is because you still took part in the pageant, you did a lot, like you put in hard work to win it, and so on and so forth. So, like from the overall experience, what are one or two things that you take away from it,
From the competition?
from the competition and from being royalty? I mean, yeah, in
Mm,
general.
um, the first thing I would say is being able to take care for myself more,
Mm,
because before participating in the pageant, I didn't care about my appearance, didn't care about my look, stuff like that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, as an extrovert, I just care about the people I have been interacted and the care the time I were able to interact with them. I
mm,
forget to take care about myself. So definitely after participating in the pageant, the first thing I learned is care about yourself first
mm,
before you care for other people, because you want to perfect yourself first in order to perfect other people and impact other people.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
and this is the reason why the judge like really amazed of my like answer for the interview, because the first thing when they mention about diversity, I would say that how I can preserve diversity within me before I can represent diversity towards other people. It's just everything had to start from me first.
mm,
When you make that significant improvement within you, because I believe there's always room within you for self improvement,
mhm,
and definitely after the competition, during the competition, I just keep improving myself more and more after every rehearsals. So yeah, it's just that's what I learned. That the first thing I learned from the competition and my own experience. And the second thing would be, I would say everything that you have done so far have to start it from your own motivation, or maybe your own definition
mm,
of your life. It's just my life, my own definition of my life is keep perfect professionaling myself
mm,
and try to exploring the missing pieces of my life.
mm,
And by challenging myself in different aspects of life, from a scholarship competition, or maybe like from a research, basically, I would say that it's just like it's just I always have the design to see a perfect victor in the future. And when people see me,
mm,
like after graduation, after having seen me for a long time, they see there's a significant change in terms of my personality and in terms of my horizon. It's just like I have perfection myself decently, I would say. And it's this thing that the reason I participated in the pageant back then is just I want to advocate for my international community.
mm,
And advocating for my people, for my fellow like international friends is one thing I can perfect myself.
mm,
It's one thing I can perfect my communication skill and perfect the desire to build a bridge between like international and domestic community, stuff like that. Yeah, I would say like it all started from yourself,
mm,
everything, and your desire to perfect yourself. Even though like sometimes it can be selfish, sometimes it can be stingy, definitely. But
mm,
just think about it. Like if people have the audacity to ignore people just to prioritize their own benefits, then you know it can be a good thing when applied
mm,
to your life. Being like an extrovert person, I care a lot for my friends. I care a lot about my friends, but does I forget to care about myself too. So after the competition and after the pandemic, I would say that try to balance yourself and your network. Yeah, I would
Mm,
say that.
mm.
Mm,
That's beautiful. We've come full circle because you started by saying that, and now we've come back to that again close to an hour later. So that's awesome. And yeah,
oh,
that is
thank you.
something definitely that we need to consider because a lot of the times we can be worried about trying to make other people happy that we forget that we need to keep ourselves happy too.
True.
I've mentioned this probably in a previous episode, but you can only fill someone else's glass if your glass is full. So,
Mm,
I remember reading that somewhere. Um, so yeah, totally. Like the fact that you've realized that is awesome. Because we all realize that in some way or the other. And definitely like this pandemic has probably given everybody that opportunity to realize certain things that they need to change about themselves. So before we transition into like the last leg, is there any okay no before let me phrase that better. You mentioned that you
you're fine.
learned you mentioned that you learned a lot about taking care of yourself from the pageant and the pandemic in general. If you were to pick out any other 2 or 3 lessons, what would those be from the pandemic?
Two or
I
three
might have asked
lessons
this
from the
in a different
pandemic.
way, but just to close us off.
Um, that's really hard because I wouldn't have thought about this types of thing. Um, I would say after the pandemic, it just like just beside thinking about myself, think about my friends, spending more time with my loved one, and it's probably like the main like outcomes that I learned from the pandemic. But if
Mm,
I would see another, resort from it, I would say, being you,
mm,
being you. Hmm. Because the thing is, you care about yourself. That's not an usual thing that I would do to myself like that. But
mm,
if I Victor, I would think about that. But when I try to temporarily taking off from social media, I still try to be me. I still
mm,
try to communicate with my friends outside social media sites.
mm.
Through iMessages, through WhatsApp, I still want to keep myself updated. Regarding my friend, it's just like, I'm a self aware person. I
Mm,
want to bring my awareness to my friends also.
mm,
So I want to be myself,
right.
stuff like that. And still, even after the pandemic, even though I found an introvert side of me, I cannot forget who I were back then, 2 years ago, an extrovert, outgoing, enjoying person that you have mentioning, you described me to. So yeah, being myself is
Mm,
just like, yeah, and if you are yourself, you are 100% yourself, you can always keep yourself self-motivated,
mm,
even in your class, even in your internship hunting, in your most depression time, just be yourself.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a really hard question because you wouldn't ever like pay attention to that,
mm,
like you just like keep flowing with the lifetime, like with the life flow. So yeah,
mm,
I would after this conversation with you, I definitely want to think more about that. It's
mm,
just like maybe there's some pieces that I forgot to mention during the podcast. But if
mm.
I remember to put it out, yes, another podcast will be promising.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you never know. We can have
And
another.
you
We
never
can do a
know.
round two. We could definitely do a round two. I'm totally
Definitely.
for it. I'm totally for it. Yeah,
Thank
round two in the works. But anyway, for now,
you.
we're gonna transition into the last section of the podcast,
Yes.
and that section is Bish Bash Bosh to start us off. Bish Bash Bosh is a segment similar to word association, where I give the guests a word and I ask them to respond to that word in 3 words or 3 other phrases, preferably something that comes to your mind first. So, for example, if
Oh,
I was to say communication, what are the 3 words that come to your mind? that kind of thing.
Okay.
Communication is not the word, but I'm going to give you those words in just a moment. Does that make sense?
Okay, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Okay.
So you just give out 3 words that came out from your mind, like as soon as you mentioned that word.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
So for the
Right,
first
I'm
word,
ready.
it is differences. What comes to your mind when I say the word differences?
Oh, differences. Oh, the first thing that would come to me would be race,
Okay.
diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and last but not least, personality.
I like it.
Yeah.
Personality. Nice.
First.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
Gotcha.
it. The second word is nuance.
Okay.
What comes to your mind when I say the word nuance?
Nuance,
Mm-hmm.
like new, like everything regarding to new things, stuff like that.
No, so nuance is more like gray, like it's not just black and white. There's like Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's not like what I would say. Alignment. Is that acceptable? I would alignment.
Enlightenment. Okay.
Alignment. What is it? What is that word? Why? Maybe let's say what is I decisive? I don't know, maybe being decisive, like being differently.
Yeah, like because you have to sort of consider like some of the things that you don't know, or like everything to be able to take a decision. Yeah, so I can see that. Yeah, decision, decisive. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And last but not least is you, like being you. I say there's no black and white when it's come to you. It's just like you and your own awareness. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that works. That totally works.
Okay.
Okay, the third word for this segment is learning. What comes to your mind when I say the word learning?
Oh, learning. The first thing is continuation, curiosity, and last but not least is adaptation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. The fourth word is empathy. What comes to your mind when I say the word empathy?
Empathy. Wow. Genuinity, authenticity, and empathy, and maybe cognition.
Okay,
Cognition.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. The last word for this segment is similarities. What comes to your mind when I say the word similarities?
Similarity. Similarity. Skin color.
Okay.
Background. And GPA.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take it.
Okay. Okay. It's everything just thinking from out of myself like spontaneously.
No. That's what I'm looking for. It is that sort of spontaneous answer. So I'll take it. GPA. Hey, we can all have similar GPAs and still be different people. So there you go. That works. All right.
Gotcha.
So that's it for this segment of Bish Bash Bosh. We're going to transition into the last two sort of questions or requests for this episode. The first one being, how do you relate to people? What is your way of being relatable to people?
It's the first thing. Try to put yourself in their places, in their comfort zone. It's just like, if you want to see myself, if you are suitable for any specific individuals, try to make a conversation with them first, interact with them first, knowing them first. Don't just a book by its cover, not until you do your own research about that person. Make a connection. And if you feel that, that fate, or maybe that, that I was, what is it? That string, that, that invisible string between you and your friends, you can keep like hang on to it to keep climbing to that friendship. Or if you don't feel that, just let it go. It's fine to let any relationship go because you need to move forward. You don't want to keep any like toxicity existing in your daily life, Yeah, make connection, knowing them, and doing research. Yeah.
Nice. I like it. Doing
Yes.
research.
Thank you.
Cool. And
Yeah.
for the last request, or the way for us to close this episode off, leave us with a positive thought or a positive quote from your experiences.
Positive.
Whatever you'd like to share, that's something positive.
Guys, live your lives to the fullest. Like for me right now, I only have 1 year left at UCL, and I didn't regret what I have done in the past because I have lived my life to the fullest. I made mistakes. I admitted that, but all the mistake had made me who I am today because I have lived my life to the perfectionist. I think so. But yeah, live your life to the fullest, even though you feel disappointed, you feel less motivated, or you don't feel happy because of a day, just live your life to the fullest because you try, at least you try something. And tomorrow, when you wake up, you didn't regret what you have done or what you have missed yesterday. Yeah, because you tried. Maybe you try. And I encourage you and I praise you. Awesome. But yeah, that will be a positive quote I give you guys tonight.
Beautiful. And on that note, thank you so much, Victor. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and have quite a vulnerable conversation in one way or another, and a very deep conversation. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that, and I also appreciate you guys for listening and watching. Thank you so much once again, and this is me and Victor signing off. I'll see you guys next time.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, Prateek. Thank you for bearing with us for an hour. See you guys in the next podcast.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Part 2.
Good night,
Victor
guys.
and Prateek, part 2.
Part 2.
For sure.
Yes, versus, definitely.
Have
a good night, Prateek. Have a good night, you guys.
Thank you for watching this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. Make sure to follow Victor on his social media accounts and mention in the comment section below some of the things that you found interesting, intriguing, or relatable about the conversation. Make sure to also check the description box below for other sources of content and information that we've spoken about today. Make sure to also like this video, share it around, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit that bell icon to learn about the latest episodes dropping. Once again, if you've listened to the conversation in its entirety, thank you so very much for doing so. I really appreciate you joining in and learning about different perspectives. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and don't forget to keep your mind open to different perspectives, because you never know, random relatability might just be around the corner.